Liam, I need you to understand something. Trevor and I are going to dinner with my parents this Friday. They have been asking to meet someone special, and I think it is time. The words came through the phone speaker with calculated precision. Amanda's voice carried no hesitation, no apology, merely a statement of established fact. I remained stationary in my apartment, the device pressed against my ear, processing the information she had just transmitted. Your parents, the ones you told me 3 weeks ago, were not ready to meet me because of their travel schedule and health concerns, I stated, maintaining an even tone. Yes, well, circumstances have evolved. Trevor has been incredibly supportive during some challenging moments at work. He understands the pressure I face in ways that are difficult to explain. I see. And when did Trevor begin providing this support? A pause extended across the line. Liam, please do not make this more complicated than necessary. This is not about you. This is about me needing something different right now. How long, Amanda? 6 weeks. We have been seeing each other for 6 weeks. I intended to discuss this with you, but the timing never seemed appropriate. 6 weeks. I conducted rapid mental calculations. 6 weeks ago, she had canceled our anniversary dinner, citing a critical work presentation. 4 weeks ago, she had been unavailable for an entire weekend, explaining she required personal space for mental health reasons. 2 weeks ago, she had suggested we reduce the frequency of our communication to preserve the relationship's long-term viability. I understand, I responded. Thank you for the clarification. I will require approximately 30 minutes to retrieve my belongings from your residence. I assume you are not currently present there. Liam, I did not say we needed to end things completely. I simply need you to understand that I am exploring other connections. You are being unreasonable. Amanda, I will arrive at your apartment in 20 minutes. Please ensure you are not present. I will leave my key on the kitchen counter upon departure. I terminated the call before she could formulate a response. The drive to her apartment complex required 14 minutes. I utilized this time to compose a detailed mental inventory of items requiring retrieval: 2 dress shirts, running shoes, toiletries, a laptop charger, and a photograph from a vacation we had taken to the coast 8 months prior. The photograph held no sentimental value at this juncture. It merely represented evidence of time inefficiently allocated. Her apartment building stood in an upscale district, the kind of location that projected success and stability. I had contributed to 6 months of her rent when she had experienced temporary financial constraints following an unexpected medical expense. She had characterized this as a loan between partners, and had assured me repayment would occur once her situation stabilized. No repayment had materialized. I entered using my key and proceeded with systematic efficiency. Each item was located and secured within 12 minutes. As I prepared to deposit the key on the kitchen counter as indicated, I observed her laptop resting open on the dining table, screen active. Ethical considerations regarding privacy arose momentarily. However, given that she had voluntarily disclosed an extended pattern of deception, I determined that obtaining comprehensive information regarding the situation constituted reasonable due diligence. The messaging application displayed on screen required no password access. The conversation history with a contact labeled T extended back precisely 6 weeks and 2 days. I extracted my phone and documented the contents via photographs. The messages detailed not merely emotional involvement, but extensive planning and coordination. Dinner reservations at establishments I had recommended to her months prior. Weekend trips to locations we had discussed visiting together. Most significantly, messages from 4 days ago in which Amanda explicitly discussed managing Liam's expectations and timing the transition appropriately to minimize disruption. One particular message sequence provided critical clarity. Trevor, 11:47 p.m. When are you going to tell him? This is getting complicated. Amanda, 11:52 p.m. Soon. I need to ensure certain financial matters are resolved first. He has been helping with expenses, and I do not want to jeopardize that support prematurely. Once my lease renewal is secured and the vacation deposit is confirmed, I will have the conversation. Trevor, 11:58 p.m. That seems manipulative. Amanda, 12:03 a.m. It is practical. He is stable and reliable. You are exciting and what I want. Both serve different purposes until the transition is complete. I photographed 17 distinct message screens. I then accessed her email application, which remained logged in, and located confirmations for the Friday dinner reservation. A restaurant requiring reservations weeks in advance, indicating premeditation, as well as correspondence with her parents discussing Trevor's career achievements, family background, and suitability for long-term partnership. Additional email content revealed further concerning patterns. Amanda had forwarded Trevor my professional contact information 3 weeks prior, requesting he evaluate potential consulting opportunities with my network. She had discussed with her sister the possibility of maintaining a cordial friendship with me post-transition to preserve access to professional connections I had facilitated. She had researched legal implications of loan repayment obligations in relationship contexts, indicating awareness that her characterization of financial assistance as loans might create obligations she wished to avoid. I departed the apartment, secured the door, and deposited the key as promised. During the return drive, I transmitted the photographic evidence to my personal email account and initiated a backup to cloud storage. Upon arriving at my residence, I conducted a comprehensive financial audit. Over the course of our 18-month relationship, I had provided Amanda with the following: $4,200 in rental assistance during her temporary financial difficulty, $890 for her vehicle repair following an accident, $1,100 for a professional certification course she claimed was essential for career advancement, approximately $2,300 in dinner expenses, entertainment costs, and gifts. Total financial exposure, $8,490. Additionally, I had introduced her to my professional network, resulting in 2 consulting opportunities that had generated approximately $6,500 in income for her business. I had provided extensive technical assistance in developing her company website and marketing materials, work that would have cost approximately $3,000 if outsourced to professionals. I had allocated approximately 140 hours of weekend time to supporting her professional development, representing substantial opportunity cost. I composed a detailed email addressed to Amanda. Subject: Formal notification of relationship termination and financial settlement requirements. Amanda, this correspondence serves as formal notification that our personal relationship is terminated effective immediately. I have obtained comprehensive evidence of your concurrent relationship with Trevor, extending back 6 weeks. I have documented your explicit statements regarding the strategic management of my financial support during your transition period. I am hereby requesting full repayment of financial assistance provided during our relationship, totaling $8,490. This figure represents documented expenses I incurred on your behalf, which you characterized as temporary loans or partnership contributions. I have attached detailed receipts, bank transfers, and message tool confirmations supporting this amount. You have 30 days to provide repayment in full. If payment is not received within this time frame, I will pursue formal legal action in small claims court. I will additionally provide comprehensive documentation to mutual professional contacts regarding the circumstances of our relationship's termination, as your conduct has implications for professional credibility and trustworthiness. Do not contact me except through written communication regarding financial settlement. Liam. I attached 43 pages of documentation, bank statements, receipts, message confirmations, and the photographs obtained from her apartment. I transmitted the email at 3:47 p.m. Her response arrived at 4:23 p.m. Liam, you are being completely irrational. Those were gifts, not loans. You cannot demand repayment for relationship expenses. That is insane. I made a mistake in how I handled this situation, but your reaction is disproportionate and vindictive. We can discuss this like adults. I composed a response within 2 minutes. Amanda, your characterization is inaccurate. Multiple text messages exist in which you specifically referred to rental assistance as a loan and promised repayment once things stabilized financially. Your vehicle repair was explicitly framed as temporary assistance pending insurance settlement. The certification course was described as a professional investment you would compensate me for once it generated returns. These are documented facts, not subjective interpretations. Additionally, you have acknowledged conducting a 6-week concurrent relationship while actively soliciting my continued financial support, as evidenced by your own written statement. I need to ensure certain financial matters are resolved first. This constitutes fraud by deception under state law. 29 days remain for voluntary settlement. After that period expires, I will proceed with legal filing and professional network. Notification. Liam. No response was received that evening. The following morning, I received a phone call from Jordan, a mutual friend who had introduced us initially. I permitted the call to proceed to voicemail, then reviewed the message. Liam, Amanda contacted me. She is extremely upset. She said you are threatening her and demanding money for gifts you gave her during your relationship. That does not sound like you, man. Can we talk about what is actually happening here? I returned the call within 15 minutes. Jordan, I appreciate your concern. I'm going to send you a file. Review it completely before forming conclusions. After you have examined the evidence, we can discuss further if necessary. Liam, I have known Amanda for 3 years. She is not the kind of person who... Jordan, review the file. Then we will talk. I transmitted a compressed folder containing selected message screenshots, the email correspondence, and a timeline document I had prepared, outlining the sequence of events with supporting evidence. 47 minutes later, Jordan called back. Jesus Christ, Liam, I had no idea. I do not even know what to say. No response is necessary. I simply wanted to ensure you had accurate information. Amanda will likely contact additional mutual acquaintances with her version of events. I am providing factual documentation to anyone who inquires. She told me you were being controlling and financially manipulative. This is the complete opposite. She was using you. That is an accurate assessment. What do you need from me? Nothing. I am handling the situation appropriately. However, if she requests your support in characterizing me as unreasonable or abusive, I would appreciate you declining to participate in that narrative. Absolutely. Liam, I am sorry. I never would have introduced you to if I had known she was capable of this. You could not have predicted it. Neither could I, initially, but patterns become clear when examined objectively. Over the subsequent 72 hours, I received contact from 4 additional mutual acquaintances. I provided each with the same documentation package. 3 responded with support and validation. 1 did not respond at all, which I interpreted as implicit support for Amanda. The 4th contact, however, provided unexpected information. Olivia, A colleague from Amanda's industry network called me on day 4. Liam, I received your documentation. I wanted you to know that Amanda approached me 2 months ago asking about potential contract work. During our conversation, she mentioned she was dating someone who was financially helpful, but not long-term compatible. I thought it was an odd comment at the time, but I did not realize she was referring to you. I feel I should have said something. Olivia, you had no obligation to involve yourself in someone else's relationship dynamics. However, I appreciate you sharing this information now. There is something else. Amanda also asked me if I knew anyone who might be interested in her consulting services and specifically mentioned she was looking for clients who could provide advance payment arrangements because she was experiencing cash flow challenges. When I asked why she did not request assistance from her partner, she said her partner was already contributing as much as she could reasonably expect, and she needed to diversify her financial support sources. This information reinforced the pattern. Amanda had not merely been managing 2 relationships, she had been treating me as a financial resource to be optimized while simultaneously planning her exit strategy and identifying alternative revenue sources. On day 6, following the initial confrontation, I received an email from Amanda's attorney, a solo practitioner whose website indicated specialization in family law and small civil matters. Mr. Liam, I represent Amanda Richardson in this matter. Your demands for repayment of alleged loans are without legal merit. Gifts exchanged during romantic relationships are not recoverable under state law. Your threats to damage my client's professional reputation constitute harassment and potentially defamation. Cease all contact with my client immediately. Any further communication will be considered harassment and reported to appropriate authorities. Sincerely, Robert Patterson, Esquire. I forwarded this correspondence to Daniel Kwan, an attorney with whom I had worked on a corporate litigation matter 2 years prior. He practiced at a mid-sized firm with substantial civil litigation experience. Daniel called me within 2 hours. Liam, I reviewed everything you sent. This is straightforward. Her attorney is attempting to intimidate you, but the documentation you have is exceptionally strong. You have written acknowledgments that multiple payments were characterized as loans, not gifts. You have explicit evidence she intentionally prolonged the relationship to maintain financial access. That is textbook fraud. What is the recommended course of action? File in small claims court immediately. The filing fee is minimal, and you do not need representation at that level, though I am happy to consult with you on presentation strategy. More importantly, her attorney's threat regarding defamation is baseless. Truth is an absolute defense. You are not making false statements. You are sharing documented facts with individuals who have legitimate interest in understanding your character when questioned about it. Understood. I will proceed with filing. One more thing, Liam. This may escalate before it resolves. She is going to realize she significantly underestimated you. People who operate the way she does often become more aggressive when their tactics fail. Document everything. Do not engage emotionally. Remain factual and clinical. That has been my approach throughout. Good. I will send you a memo outlining presentation strategy for small claims. You are going to be fine. I filed the small claims action on day 9. The court scheduled a hearing for 6 weeks later. I prepared a comprehensive presentation binder containing all supporting documentation, organized chronologically with tabbed sections for each category of evidence. Loan agreements via text message, financial transaction records, deceptive communications, and timeline analysis. On day 12, I received a call from my former supervisor, Helen, who had transitioned to a director role at a competing firm in our industry. We had maintained a professional relationship, and she had previously indicated interest in recruiting me if appropriate opportunities arose. "Liam, I hope this is not an inappropriate time. I wanted to discuss a potential opportunity. We are expanding our strategic operations division, and I immediately thought of you for a senior analyst position. It would represent a significant increase in compensation and scope of responsibility." "I would be very interested in exploring that further, Helen." "Excellent. I am sending you preliminary details this afternoon. I will be transparent with you. Part of my confidence in recommending you stems from feedback I have received from multiple sources regarding how you handled a recent difficult personal situation. Professional integrity and sound judgment are critical at this level, and you have demonstrated both." I experienced a moment of surprise. "I appreciate that, Helen. I was not aware that situation had become visible in professional circles. Jordan mentioned it to me when I asked if he knew anyone who might be appropriate for this role. He provided context without violating your privacy. It actually strengthened my assessment of your character. People who can maintain composure and rational decision-making under personal stress are exactly who we need in high-stakes strategic positions." The interview process commenced the following week. I advanced through 3 rounds of evaluation over a 2-week period. The initial interview focused on technical competencies and analytical frameworks. The second round involved case study presentations to a panel of directors. The third round consisted of strategic planning discussions with executive leadership. During the final interview, the Vice President of Strategic Operations asked a particularly relevant question. "Liam, describe a situation where you had to make a difficult decision with limited information and uncertain outcomes. How did you approach the problem, and what was the result?" I provided a carefully constructed response that drew from professional experience, but incorporated principles I had recently applied. I encountered a situation where initial data suggested one conclusion, but deeper investigation revealed contradictory evidence. I systematically documented all available information, identified discrepancies, consulted with knowledgeable advisors, and made a decision based on verifiable facts rather than assumptions or emotional preference. The outcome validated the importance of thorough due diligence before committing to irreversible action. I received a formal offer on day 28, a 42% salary increase, comprehensive benefits enhancement, equity participation in company performance, and a title upgrade to Senior Strategic Analyst. I accepted on day 30. The small claims hearing occurred on day 43. Amanda arrived with her attorney, Robert Patterson. I arrived alone with organized documentation in a professional binder. The judge, a woman in her early 60s with an efficient demeanor, reviewed the filings briefly before addressing the room. "Mr. Liam, you are claiming Ms. Richardson owes you $8,490 for various expenses you covered during your relationship. Ms. Richardson, you are asserting these were gifts and not loans. Is that accurate?" "Yes, Your Honor," Patterson responded. "These were voluntary contributions made during a romantic relationship. There was no loan agreement, no repayment terms, no promissory note. Mr. Liam is attempting to weaponize normal relationship expenses due to bitterness over the relationship's end." "Your Honor," I stated, "I have documented evidence that contradicts that characterization. May I present it?" "Proceed." I provided the judge with printed copies of text message exchanges in which Amanda specifically referred to rental assistance as a temporary loan, promised repayment once her financial situation stabilized, and explicitly stated the certification course expense would be compensated once it generated professional returns. The judge examined the messages for approximately 4 minutes. "Ms. Richardson, these messages appear to clearly establish these payments were characterized as loans, not gifts, at the time they were made. Do you dispute that these messages are authentic? Amanda's face flushed. Your Honor, those were just casual expressions. I did not mean them literally. Couples say things like that all the time. Ms. Richardson, you are a business professional, correct? Yes, Your Honor. And you operate your own consulting practice? Yes. So you understand the distinction between a loan and a gift in business contexts? Well, yes, but this was not a business context. This was personal. Ms. Richardson, if someone gives you money and you tell them you will repay it once your situation improves, that is a loan, regardless of context. If you did not intend to repay it, you should not have characterized it as temporary assistance requiring repayment. Patterson attempted to intervene. Your Honor, even if some of these payments were loans, there is no evidence of fraud or intentional deception. At most, this is a breach of verbal agreement, and the amounts are questionable. I addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, may I present additional evidence regarding intentional deception? Go ahead. I provided the judge with printed screenshots of Amanda's messages to Trevor, in which she explicitly discussed managing my expectations and ensuring certain financial matters are resolved first, before terminating the relationship. The judge's expression shifted noticeably. Ms. Richardson, did you write these messages? Amanda's attorney leaned in to review the documents. His face tightened. Your Honor, I was not aware of these communications. I need a moment to consult with my client. You have 2 minutes. Patterson and Amanda engaged in a whispered but visibly tense conversation. Amanda's body language became increasingly defensive. Her hands gestured emphatically, while Patterson shook his head repeatedly, apparently disagreeing with her proposed responses. When they returned to position, Patterson's tone had changed entirely. Your Honor, in light of this additional evidence, my client is willing to discuss settlement terms. Too late for that, Counselor. I am issuing a judgment. Ms. Richardson, you are ordered to pay Mr. Liam $8,490 within 60 days. Additionally, I am awarding Mr. Liam $450 in court costs and filing fees. If payment is not received within the specified time frame, wage garnishment procedures will be initiated. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Amanda said quietly, her voice barely audible. Mr. Liam, anything further? No, Your Honor. Thank you. The hearing concluded. As I exited the courtroom, Amanda attempted to approach me in the hallway. Several other individuals waiting for subsequent hearings observed the interaction. Liam, please, can we just talk about this privately? I made mistakes, but taking me to court, exposing everything like this, it is ruining my reputation. People in our professional circle are treating me differently. I have lost 2 clients because of this. Can we please find a way to move forward? I maintained 3 feet of distance and replied in a measured tone, aware that our conversation was occurring in a semi-public space. Amanda, we have nothing to discuss. You have 60 days to provide payment as ordered by the court. If you fail to comply, the court will initiate garnishment. All further communication should be directed through formal written channels. You are being cruel. I cared about you. I made mistakes, yes, but you are destroying my life over money. Amanda, you did not make mistakes. You executed a calculated strategy to maintain financial support from me while transitioning to a different relationship. You documented this strategy in writing. The court agreed with my assessment. That is the extent of our interaction. I departed before she could respond further. Several individuals in the hallway had clearly overheard the exchange. One woman, waiting with files for her own hearing, made eye contact with me and nodded with what appeared to be approval or solidarity. On day 57, I received a cashier's check for $8,940 via certified mail, the full judgment amount plus court costs. No accompanying message was included. I deposited the check and documented the transaction completion. I forwarded confirmation to Daniel Kwan, who responded with congratulations and an observation that the matter had been resolved more efficiently than typical small claims cases. My new position commenced on day 63. The work environment represented a substantial upgrade: collaborative team structure, advanced analytical tools, executive-level exposure, and strategic input on organizational direction. During my first week, I participated in a division-wide strategic planning session. My analysis of market positioning vulnerabilities received positive feedback from senior leadership. By week 3, I had been assigned to a high-visibility client retention project that would directly impact annual revenue targets. During my second month, the company hosted a networking reception for new senior staff. Helen introduced me to various directors and vice presidents, including Catherine, who led the firm's client relations division. Catherine was 34, held an MBA from a prestigious institution, and demonstrated exceptional strategic thinking during our initial conversation. Our discussion centered on operational efficiency models and client retention frameworks. No personal topics were addressed. 3 weeks later, Catherine invited me to join a small group attending an industry conference. The group included 2 other senior analysts and a director from the finance division. The conference provided valuable insights, and Catherine and I discovered substantial alignment in our professional philosophies and analytical approaches. During a panel discussion on sustainable client relationship management, Catherine presented a framework remarkably similar to one I had been developing independently. After the session, we compared notes and realized we had arrived at complementary conclusions through different analytical pathways. This is exactly the kind of collaborative thinking we need more of in our division, Catherine observed. Most people either replicate existing frameworks without innovation or pursue novelty without grounding in proven principles. You seem to balance both. I appreciate that. I have noticed the same quality in your presentations. You integrate data-driven analysis with practical implementation considerations. Our first personal conversation occurred 6 weeks after my start date, during a coffee break at a follow-up strategy session. Liam, I hope this is not inappropriate, but I wanted to say I respect how you have integrated into the organization. You demonstrate genuine competence without performative confidence. That is rare. I appreciate that, Catherine. I have observed similar qualities in how you manage client relationships. You prioritize sustainable outcomes over short-term metrics. Exactly. Too many people in this industry optimize for immediate results, regardless of long-term viability. That conversation extended into dinner that evening. A spontaneous decision by both parties, not a planned romantic gesture. Our discussion ranged across professional philosophy, career trajectory, and personal values. Catherine described ending a previous relationship 8 months prior due to her partner's financial irresponsibility and lack of professional ambition. I reached a point where I realized I was functioning as both a romantic partner and a financial advisor, constantly managing his poor decisions and subsidizing his lack of planning. It was exhausting and ultimately incompatible with the kind of partnership I wanted. That sounds remarkably similar to an experience I recently concluded, I replied. I provided her with a concise summary of the situation with Amanda, focusing on the pattern of deception and strategic exploitation rather than emotional grievance. Catherine's response was immediate and clear. That is unconscionable. Using someone's trust and generosity as a resource to be managed rather than a relationship to be honored, that reflects fundamental character issues. I arrived at the same conclusion. Once the pattern became undeniable, the appropriate response was obvious. Over subsequent months, Catherine and I developed a relationship characterized by mutual respect, transparent communication, and aligned values. She valued stability, integrity, and partnership based on mutual contribution rather than extraction. Our relationship progressed naturally and without artificial acceleration. We established clear expectations regarding financial independence, separate accounts, proportional contribution to shared expenses based on income levels, transparent discussion of major purchases. We maintained individual friendships and professional networks while building shared social connections. We communicated directly about concerns rather than allowing resentment to accumulate. The contrast with my previous relationship was absolute and ongoing. 6 months after the court judgment, Jordan contacted me regarding a mutual professional event. During our conversation, he mentioned Amanda. I do not know if you want to hear this, Liam, but I thought you should know. Amanda and Trevor ended their relationship about 2 months ago. Apparently, once she was no longer receiving financial support from you and had to cover her own expenses entirely, she expected Trevor to contribute more substantially. He was not prepared for that expectation. They had significant conflicts over money and responsibility distribution. It fell apart badly. I see. She has also had difficulty stabilizing her business. Losing those clients after the court situation became known created momentum problems. Word spread in her industry network that she had been involved in illegal judgment related to loan repayment and professional conduct concerns. She had to take a part-time position at a firm to cover expenses while trying to rebuild her consulting practice. That is unfortunate, but it is a natural consequence of her choices. She asked about you last week. Wanted to know if you were seeing anyone, if you might be open to talking. She seemed to believe that sufficient time had passed that you might be willing to reconsider. Jordan, I need to be direct with you. I have no interest in any form of contact with Amanda. That situation is conclusively resolved. I am in a relationship with someone who demonstrates integrity, partnership, and mutual respect. I am professionally fulfilled and personally stable. Amanda represents a closed chapter with no possibility of reopening. Understood, Liam. I told her I did not think you would be receptive, but she asked me to inquire anyway. I will let her know definitively. I appreciate that. Jordan paused, before continuing. You know, Liam, I have learned something from watching how you handled this entire situation. You did not become bitter or vindictive. You simply recognized what was happening, documented it objectively, and responded proportionally. A lot of people would have either tolerated the behavior indefinitely or overreacted dramatically. You did neither. I simply made decisions based on available evidence and executed them systematically. Emotional responses would have been counterproductive. Approximately 8 months after the initial incident, I received a final email from Amanda. It was sent late at night, and the tone suggested emotional distress. Liam, I know you probably do not want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask for your attention, but I need you to understand something. I have spent 8 months processing what happened. I have lost relationships, professional opportunities, and respect from people I cared about. I have had to rebuild my life from a significantly diminished position. I understand now that what I did to you was not just a mistake. It was a betrayal. I treated you as a resource rather than a partner. I manipulated your trust and your generosity. I told myself I was being practical, but I was being selfish and cruel. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not expect you to respond to this. I just need you to know that I recognize the full scope of what I did and why it was wrong. I have heard you are doing well. I have heard you are in a new relationship with someone accomplished and respected. I am genuinely glad for that. You deserved better than how I treated you. If there is any possibility of us speaking, not to resume anything, but simply so I can apologize properly and take full accountability, I would appreciate that opportunity. But I understand if that is not something you are willing to consider. Amanda, I read the email twice. I considered various potential responses. Ultimately, I composed a brief reply. Amanda, I acknowledge receipt of your message. I appreciate the acknowledgement, but no further response is necessary or expected from me. I wish you success in your future endeavors. Liam. I archived the correspondence and closed the email application. I did not discuss the email with Catherine, as it represented concluded business with no bearing on current circumstances. Catherine and I attended a firm holiday event on day 270. As we stood near the entrance observing colleagues, she turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Liam, I have been considering something. I realize we have not explicitly discussed long-term trajectory, but I want you to know I see genuine partnership potential with you. Not because of what you provide me, but because of who you are and how we function together. I value that, Catherine. I have observed the same. You represent everything I prioritized finding in a partner: integrity, competence, mutual respect, and genuine reciprocity. Then we are aligned. Completely. We remained at the event for another hour before departing together. On day 312, I received notification that Amanda had relocated to a different city approximately 200 miles away, a necessary move for a full-time position she had accepted after her consulting practice failed to recover adequately. Jordan provided this information during a casual lunch meeting. I think she needed a complete reset, Liam. Too many people here knew what happened. She could not rebuild her professional reputation effectively. The judgment became part of public record, and apparently several potential clients discovered it during routine background research. It became impossible for her to establish credibility in business development contexts. That is a reasonable decision on her part. Geographic relocation provides opportunity for reputation reconstruction, assuming she modifies her operational approach. Do you ever think about what might have happened if she had just been honest with you from the beginning? If she had simply said she had developed feelings for someone else and wanted to end the relationship properly? Occasionally, but ultimately, the outcome revealed fundamental incompatibility in values and character. If she had been honest initially, the relationship still would have ended, simply with less damage to both parties and no legal proceedings. However, the fact that she chose deception over honesty when presented with that decision point indicates that honesty was not within her operational framework. The method of ending was consistent with the character that would have eventually manifested regardless. You really have moved on completely, have not you? Yes, Jordan, I have. That statement reflected objective reality. Amanda represented a finite period of my life, 18 months characterized by progressive deception, culminating in recognition, response, and resolution. The experience provided valuable data regarding relationship evaluation, boundary enforcement, and the importance of evidence-based decision-making in personal contexts. Catherine and I continued building a partnership characterized by qualities Amanda had proven incapable of demonstrating: transparency, mutual support, shared financial responsibility, and commitment to each other's success rather than exploitation of each other's resources. By day 390, Catherine and I had established clearly defined shared goals, compatible lifestyle preferences, and mutual commitment to long-term partnership development. We had met each other's families, integrated our social networks appropriately, and demonstrated consistent alignment in values and decision-making approaches. The contrast with my previous relationship was absolute. The choice was validated. The situation was conclusively resolved. I never heard from Amanda again.